I am continuing my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a bit as I move along. So now we read the conclusion of Jacob chapter 7. This will finish out Jacob's writing. We read in the first half of this the story of Sherem contending with Jacob. He is smitten by God. I said at the ending there he was nursed for many days. He was nourished for many days. I forgot to talk about it in the last video, but he was not just struck dumb, he was smitten by God. Well, let us read this and then we'll talk about it. Verse 16. And it came to pass that he said unto the people, Gather together on the morrow, for I shall die. Wherefore I desire to speak unto the people before I shall die. And it came to pass that on the morrow the multitude were gathered together, and he spake plainly unto them, and denied the things which he had taught them, and confessed the Christ, and the power of the Holy Ghost, and the ministering of angels. And he spake plainly unto them that he had been deceived by the power of the devil. And he spake of hell, and of eternity, and of eternal punishment. And he said, I fear lest I have committed the unpardonable sin, for I have lied unto God. For I denied the Christ, and said that I believed the Scriptures, and they truly testify of him. And because I have thus lied unto God, I greatly fear lest my case shall be awful. But I confess unto God. And it came to pass that when he had said these words, he could say no more, and he gave up the ghost. And when the multitude had witnessed that he spake these things as he was about to give up the ghost, they were astonished exceedingly, insomuch that the power of God came down upon them, and they were overcome, that they fell to the earth. Now this thing was pleasing unto me, Jacob, for I had requested it of my Father who was in heaven, for he had heard my cry and answered my prayer. And it came to pass that peace and the love of God was restored again among the people. And they searched the Scriptures and hearkened no more to the words of this wicked man. And it came to pass that many means were devised to reclaim and restore the Lamanites to the knowledge of the truth. But it all was vain, for they delighted in wars and bloodshed, and they had an eternal hatred against us, their brethren. And they sought by the power of their arms to destroy us continually. Wherefore the people of Nephi did fortify against them with their arms and with all their might, trusting in the God and rock of their salvation. Wherefore they became as yet conquerors of their enemies. And it came to pass that I, Jacob, began to be old, and the record of this people being kept on the other plates of Nephi. Wherefore I conclude this record, declaring that I have written according to the best of my knowledge, by saying that the time passed away with us, and also our lives passed away, like as it were unto us a dream, we being a lonesome and a solemn people, wanderers, cast out from Jerusalem, born in tribulation in a wilderness, and hated of our brethren, which caused wars and contentions. Wherefore we did mourn out our days. And I, Jacob, saw that I must soon go down to my grave. Wherefore I said unto my son Enos, Take these plates. And I told him the things which my brother Nephi had commanded me, and he promised obedience unto the commands. And I make an end of my writing upon these plates, which writing has been small. And to the reader I bid farewell, hoping that many of my brethren may read my words. Brethren, adieu. So a couple of things here. Going back to Sherem, he is clearly smitten by God. He wasn't just struck dumb. It wasn't a temporary thing. He was smitten by God. I think he was struck by an angel, and he dies just a few days later. It says they nourish him for the space of many days. A week or two later, he's dead. He is smitten, and this was he was given his last chance to confess his error. And he says he is fearful that he has committed the unpardonable sin, but I think if he actually had committed the unpardonable sin, he would not be confessing this at the end. He would not be saying this in the end. And so I think there's hope that he is redeemed from hell. I doubt he's much higher than the telestial kingdom, but at least he's got that hope. Now, this is interesting that all the people are overcome by the Spirit and fall to the earth, just like with Ammon and King Lamoni, they all fall to the earth. And then there's the love of God and peace is restored. And then we have this first reference to the attempts of preaching to the Lamanites. This is the first time the Nephites talk about trying to reclaim the Lamanites. At this time, Jacob is probably the last of those who crossed the ocean. He's probably the only one still alive. Joseph might still be alive because Joseph was younger than Jacob, but I think Jacob's probably the last one. At this time, he's probably 96, 97 years old, and he's the last of those who remembers who was alive at the time that they came across the ocean. I do find it funny that at this time he says, I began to be old, when he was at least in his 80s at the time of the encounter with Sherem. I have no doubt about that. And I think he was in his 90s, and now he's just beginning to be old. I find that hilarious. But you'll note that he says, we did mourn out our days. These were, even though he had great joy in the gospel, they were not in the best of situations. They were constantly at odds with the Lamanites, constantly being attacked. They built up their fortifications. They were always victorious, but it was a constant threat. And so they had peace among themselves, but they didn't really live fully in peace because of the constant threat of the Lamanites. And on a final note, a lot of critics and anti-Mormons get upset that the word adieu is used here in the end of Jacob. And they say, oh, this was a translation, why wouldn't he just say farewell, or why would he use a French word instead of an English word? And my issue with that is that it's the French word adieu. This is a common phrase known by most people, I would say. Even in the time of Joseph Smith, most people knew the word. In addition, and I'm no linguist, but I understand that the word adieu means literally more God bless you, God be with you, kind of thing. And so it does actually have, it's not just simply goodbye or farewell. It is a very specific kind of salutation, or not salutation, but you know what I mean, kind of farewell. And so it is a more direct translation of what Jacob wrote. That is going to be all for Jacob. We will now turn to the book of Esther, and I will see you there.